It's 1992, and my son gets a thing in the mail that says, "Are you bored in high school?" And this was a recruitment flyer for this interesting place called Simon's Rock College, which started exceptional students out on a college curriculum while they were still in high school. So Galen got into this program, and he goes to college, and it was full of very smart kids. But unfortunately, some of the kids were disturbed. They had problems. One of these kids had a psychotic breakdown on the night of December 14th, walked through the campus shooting people. He killed two, one a professor. My son, who was in the library, some kids came in screaming, "There's been an accident down the street." He ran out to help and just bumped into the guy with the gun and was shot and killed. Well, I guess it's the worst thing that anybody can imagine happening. We were just in a terrible state of grief and confusion. Also, something else happens when something enormous like that happens, the death of a loved one or some other cataclysmic event. Somehow time changes and your relationship to the universe around you changes, and for a very short while you feel this intimate connection with something far bigger than yourself and your petty concerns. It's a place of comfort, and it's at the same time it's just a place of this enormous universal process. I emerged from that transcendental state into a state of rage and vengeance. I think if the college had come and said, "We're so sorry, we take responsibility, what can we do?" we probably would have gone to parents of murdered children and joined AA and had shrinks help us and all this kind of stuff that is more or less a standard path that people take. But instead, spun off on this strange rage. And I think that's what saved my life and probably saved my family. It's a funny thing to say, but it was all about vengeance in those first years. Sometime later, because these things proceed very slowly, there was the criminal trial. And I thought in the course of this due process, I would learn what had really happened. So I began recording it. And that was the point at which I stopped being a victim and became a reporter. I had some different relationship with my circumstance. I remember waking up one morning and realizing that I got to go talk to the guy that sold the gun to the kid who killed my son. And I went and talked to him. And instead of being a knuckle-dragging idiot, I found another compassionate human being who just so regretted what had happened as a result of this. I thought I was going to get this guy too. And I went to get him, and he turned out not to be gettable because he was just a human like me. And then I began interviewing people at the college, trying to unravel the story. And more or less, that's what happened. It was this constant process of having my vengeance thwarted or disappointed by running up against people who were no more or less than human beings like myself. I gradually realized that this vengeance thing, if I took it much further, wasn't going to be very good for me. By this time, I had determined that I was going to write a book about it. Okay, I'm not a victim, I'm a reporter, but then I'm not a victim or a reporter, I'm a writer. I'm writing about this thing. And the sense of separation from one's abysmally awful situation, or the feeling of power that one has some agency in this situation, that I might be doing something about it, that even if I find out what happened, maybe it won't happen again. And at some point, in a lovely way, the book, Gone Boy, was out there doing this thing for us so that we didn't have to do it anymore. We could get back to our lives. This is so corny, but constructive things can come out of horrible catastrophes. And the book is proof of that. Eventually, I meet the parents of the kid who murdered my son. And of course, by this time, I'm not surprised at all to find out that they are human beings. One year, I get a letter from the father, and he says, Wayne wants to write to you. He wants to talk to you. He's now cognizant of what he did, and he takes full responsibility for it, and he wants to express to you his shame and sorrow. And I say, well, Mr. Lowe, what happened? And he said, Greg, he read your book, and if there's anything I've learned, I think it's that there are as many ways to deal with this as there are people. There is no right way. You have your own process, and it's going to proceed in its own way and in its own time. Survival and healing and recovery is the rule, not the exception. Very few people really flame out. Very few people, as close as they come, as close as they may feel to thinking this will destroy them. You know, when you cut your finger, why does that cut heal over? It's the same way with people. Listen, if somebody's got to do yoga 8 hours a day or collect ants or whatever crazy thing they have to do to get through this, that's what they need to do. So I guess it is take your time and follow your heart.